Cool.
All right, so it's 4:30, so let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully we'll have a few more people join us on Zoom and wander in. So this is our first attempt at a hybrid. So hopefully it works and we get all the kinks out, we get all the bugs out, and it's nice to see everybody back in person. It's nice to be in the same room and conversing without my dogs barking in the background or my kids poking their head through the door, trying to whisper, talk to me. Whisper talk, they're like, molting out, are you in a meeting? And then, yeah, so. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the pledge. Call the meeting to order. And the pledge is to reaffirm ourselves. So where it is? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
I think the hardest thing about remote is saying the pledge, because you have
Good
5
delay.
different speeds showing up in your ear,
Right.
and you know you're gonna be the one person who messes up, and then everybody's gonna notice. That's my fear.
No pressure.
No pressure. All right, so I don't see any guests online at the time, so we will go ahead and skip that part. We'll skip D for the organizational meeting. When we get through the regular business, I do have an item to bring up for D, as we talk about what the board will look like going forward and some ideas, and just maybe a brainstorm session with you guys. On to E, can I get a motion to approve them? Actually, any discussion on the minutes from July 8th?
I so move.
Okay, can I get so that leave motion to approve the minutes? Can I get-
Leaf, were you at that meeting?
Yes,
You were, okay.
can
it
I
was
get a second?
remote, but yes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor to approve the minutes?
I,
I
First privilege of the floor. Assuming that we don't have any guests, I assume that will also be, we're still our 3 participants.
Yep.
Yep, okay. All right, Shauna, do you have anything from the development office? Okay. All right, item H, there are no referrals from the town board. There are no referrals from the CIC. And I don't believe that we have any referrals from the ordinance committee. I know the ordinance committee is meeting again on Monday about the ridge line. I would suggest, I missed the last one, I had a schedule change, but I would suggest anybody who's interested to watch those discussions and who's interested to jump in on the Monday meeting on Zoom or pop in, they meet right here. A continued discussion on the ridge line ordinance, ridge line guidelines, and how we're gonna put more teeth into those.
Is it a 4:30, Jared?
No, that's.
It's 9, and actually it's
9
gonna be upstairs because we're starting budget workshops down here. So
Okay,
it'll be in
so
the
it'll be
middle
upstairs?
room. Yep,
Okay,
Oh, it's a different room.
yes.
Oh,
I'll
I'll
be
have to
up,
change that.
good for you, man.
up in, what do we call that little room?
The fishbowl room? right in
Not the
middle?
fishbowl, well, the fishbowl is in our.
And that's in your office. Oh, the middle,
Yeah,
okay.
middle.
Right across from the
room.
stairs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so no referrals from the ordinance committee. The PRC referrals, we have 1. And those of you who are here, you need to pull that up. So I emailed that. Well, those of you who are online, I'm not going to spend the time to pull it up. We will read it and go through it because I don't have it online. Do not have an online version. I did not put it into Google. So note to self, something to do future that we have these in there lined up. And because nobody.
Hi, Pat.
Edith just pulled in too, so.
Okay, all right.
So the
we'll-
door is still open?
Yeah, Doug is talking to some heating and cooling guy out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start. There are copies, Pat, paper copies. We only have the 1 project review.
Yeah.
For right now.
I made a copy that was emailed.
Okay,
Did anything
that's the review. My
Oh, the
project.
review,
review.
okay,
Yeah,
oh,
that's my
thank
review.
you.
That didn't come out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hey there.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Another one to pass down.
Here we go.
Behind the law abiding citizen.
Oh, I made that. Were they turning left onto 5 and 20? How, I've waited there 10 minutes lately. It's insane.
bad.
It's getting worse.
yes, and then they pulled out
45
about,
and 20.
you know,
took at least 2 minutes for him to make the curve while I was holding my breath.
Didn't they know you were trying to get to a meeting?
Yeah,
Oh, well.
sometimes I just drive through town like my parents used to do, just loop around.
Avoid it. I could
Avoid
see
it.
that.
Yeah. So anyway, I
Yeah,
digress.
sorry.
All right, so CPN 21-063, the address is 4655 County Road 16. And I'll just go real quickly through the scope of the project. There are 3 main points, and this is all in the rear of the home. If you want to pull up. We can, the overhead, yeah, we can look at the overhead. Let's keep that one up and then we can go into the details and look at those. But as you look at the home, all the project is located in the white dotted area. There's a significant slope coming down the driveway. So what they want to do is on the south side of the property, they want to rehabilitate that patio area and expand it, add an outdoor fireplace and outdoor seating. They also want to, where you see the steps going down to the lake, they want to grade that to make, there's a gentle slope that you'll be able to see in some of the pictures, but they want to even out that slope where the pavers are, where they connect to the dock. They also want to, on the north end of the south end. The south, I have my ends mixed up here. On the south end of the property, where you see those boulders, they want to, right where the car is, you can see the added walkway going down the stairs. So yeah, on the south end, they want to add that walkway for another access point to the down to the lakefront to curve around. And then the last thing, one other thing that they want to do is install a tram. And the tram is in that location there where the white lines are, which would involve a location on the top and then expand, adding to the dock on the bottom. And they also, there are 2 trees on the property that have been identified as hazard trees. One has a hole in it. Another one has been already partially removed. So they're at the end of their life and they're worried about them falling on the walkway and causing harm. So those 2 trees would be removed. All right, so let's look at going through some of the things you can see. When you pull up those. All right, as you can see, those wooden steps, the picture on the top right are the wooden steps where they have the stairway now. And that would be replaced with brick pavers and an easier slope. The picture in the top middle is an overhead view of where it would be, where you'd walk down. And you come around and loop there. The picture on the bottom left is the slope from the house and the walkway. So there is not a lot of room between the house and where the slope begins. The center picture shows some of the patio that would be kind of realigned and re-leveled in that regard. So you want to pop to the next ones. Yeah, and the top pictures are the trees indicated for removal. You can see they're leaning and they're not the most healthy looking trees. And then the bottom left is the tram. That yellow dotted line shows where the tram will be. And the bottom right picture is where the tram will pick up on the top of the hill. Okay. And if there are other questions after, I do have some that I took. I went and took some pictures and then I came back and actually looked at the file. I'm like, wow, look at all the pictures they put in there. That's really cool of them. Okay, so the primary lot is 1.12 acres. The area of proposed work is about 0.12 acres. The building coverage on the lot is 6.19%, and the lot coverage total would be 20.69% after the work. So they're all within variant. There wouldn't be any variances required. One thing that I did notice on their plans, it mentions paved driveway, and I think even there it might have said paved driveway. The driveway is all pavers, which is good, so that it's all pavers there. The main environmental concerns that I noticed of the project, there is the creek bed area that runs to the north of the property, and you can kind of see it right where the tram, a little bit to the right of the tram. Yeah. You can see it on Encore. You can see the bridge. There's actually, you cross over there and there's a bridge that crosses over the creek to the other part of their property. Coming out into that area, there's a 4-inch drain pipe that just opens right up into there. You know, it's an existing condition. They do have rain gardens that they're talking about putting in down towards the front where the seat wall area is, just to the right of the stairs. They're talking about a rain garden in there. The number one concern is to make sure that anything filtering off of this would filter through there to get into that, that pipe.
Is there a lot of drop from the pipe to
Yeah.
the lake?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's an issue with the, yeah.
it sticks out, right, and I do have that in some of the pictures that I pulled up, so if you want to pull up, I'm not sure which ones. And you can see it, just to make sure and to ensure that any drainage works through the rain garden and gets filtered, and they're just not filtering the majority of this on into that pipe that's just, I mean, it drops right down into that creek and that gully area, and then it's
Washing out,
washing right into
blasting
the
out,
lake,
yeah.
right into the lake. That's where they're gonna be adding, the property. I know, sorry about that, I should have put them in the file. No, that's just the retaining wall.
That's something we've got to be thinking about too, with the quantity of rain that we're getting in these super thunderstorms lately.
And that one shows, you can see more of the slope of that walkway right there, that shows a little bit more what they want to remediate. There's the bridge, we're almost there. You can see it,
Yeah, there's a lot of pitch there.
it just comes right off of there and it just drops.
Yep.
So I would, you know, that should be remediated, because if you get a full 4-inch, that could be some significant water coming out of there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, it shouldn't be costly or difficult for people to do that. I know
No.
when we see it. I mean, literally, if you move some stone within a couple of feet of the mouth of that pipe,
Just
so as
wash.
it drops, it disperses.
Just put some
Cut
sort of
the
wash
energy
basin
on
or
it,
something,
yeah.
So there's that, and then it's that forested wooded area are the only the real environmental pieces around the property. Everything else is pretty wide open. That last one is where the tram's gonna come down.
Oh, you were on the dock.
Yeah, from the dock
Okay,
looking up, yeah.
up, okay.
So recommendations, again, care must be ensured to keep any sort of debris from washing into that creek area. It has a direct path right into the lake as it goes in. One thing that I did notice from the project, the pilings that they're using are 2-inch aluminum pilings for the tram. And the total displacement, I think I have it up here. The total displacement of soil is about 3 square feet for the entire project, which I think is, you know, that's great that they are just putting the pylons in there. You won't have that much soil just, you know, being removed. Also, the proposed area for the tram has significant natural buffering and screening. This is recommendation 2. Care should be taken to preserve as much of this as possible. They are indicating that they want to preserve that screening. But again, to preserve as much of that screening as possible and only remove the trees that are the hazard. You know, they're continuing to commend impermeable pavers in the rain garden. But the number one concern is care must be taken to assure that runoff does not flow directly into the creek through that drain pipe. So that should be remediated as part of that. I think that's the number one concern of the property. All right.
I think
I
that's,
would agree.
yeah, that's something we need to, I think, look at with a lot of our lake properties. So many of them have the little gully or little gorge next to them that takes in a lot of drainage. And I don't know if I really would have thought about this 10 years ago, but I'm sure everybody else is seeing it. I mean, what I see at my house is just tremendous. The erosion is incredible. I mean, if all we do is absorb some of the energy of that water a little bit and disperse it before it hits the actual gully.
Are they replacing those trees that are being taken out, or is that gonna be?
They are,
Okay.
they have a
Good
great
landscape.
landscape.
Yeah, so
plan,
if you, do we
actually.
have that up in the other one? They're adding a lot
They're adding a
into the
bunch.
property, yeah.
Okay.
This whole.
The whole rock wall area that they're adding, where they're putting this, so on the on the left side where they're adding the steps and the rock wall and the retaining wall, that will be buffered by trees. They're also adding a whole lot on the north side.
Yeah. Oh, here's the plan.
So all of the, you see all the gray right there, and then as much around the rocks, and they made a note of that, that rock retaining wall is pretty consistent with the height, the maximum height of the property, so it will be buffered, so it will not be a.
We haven't done anything about an ordinance regarding species yet, Jared. I know you and I had talked about it a couple times. Is there a way we can urge some of these designers and builders to as much as possible
Native
use
species,
native
yeah.
species?
Yes,
We have a list.
certainly recommend it,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So I think, anything like this, and that's good to bring up, that we remember to add that in there, so we should add that.
And Jared, if I could just add, if they plan on replacing those 2 trees, they're pulling out maybe more mature trees with some established root balls that will grab a hold of that soil
Mhm.
more
Yeah.
quickly than
Yep.
very
So a
small
bigger
trees.
caliber tree.
Yeah.
And I don't know about everybody else, but man, it's like,
Yeah.
we've got so much crown vetch in this area from when everybody used it for bank erosion control.
Mhm.
It's beautiful.
And it's just
Beautiful
nasty.
flowers.
Yeah.
Well, that house is so close to the edge of the cliff, the big tree roots are important
They're
for
vital
keeping
for
the
that.
cliff in place, yeah.
That's a good point.
Mhm.
Well, I think that the great way to do it too is with a lot of these folks who might be doing their first home outside of an urban setting is to point out that you're conserving your own real estate by doing that. You're holding your soil in place and
Well, the old tree roots will hold for about 10 years and then they rot.
Yep.
And
When
there
they-
goes the cliff.
right, then they create voids as they rot.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So at a point 4 then, so encourage the use of larger trees, more mature trees to replace the hazard trees. And then a 5th point, encourage the use of native species in
Sounds
the
good.
landscaping.
Tulip poplars are native and they grow quickly.
Tulip trees are beautiful too, aren't they?
They're
They are
wonderful
pretty.
trees, yeah. Yeah.
All
I wish we
right.
could recommend species. but I don't think-
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah,
need to
might
get
be a
that
little
list
bit-
compiled, you
we
know?
do.
We can suggest a list.
Yeah, a suggestion. a
Yeah, we
suggestion.
can, yes.
Yes.
There might be some pushback if we say what to plant where.
Well,
You know,
no, I
maybe.
don't.
Right.
I know, I
That-
hear you.
A list of possibilities would be a
That would
great
be-
thing to
yes.
hand to,
Mhm.
yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions? Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the recommendations as amended?
So move.
Okay, a second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So motion carries and the recommendations will be submitted for the project. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it was my first one. It felt weird walking around somebody's house, just taking random pictures of it.
I had to do one, as a historian, and I did, I felt like, I was like a peeping Tom, I'm like,
But when there
somebody's
were-
gonna shoot me.
Yeah, when there were tarps over all the furniture on the inside and everything was bolted down on the outside. So I'm like, I think I'm safe. I'm pretty safe.
It might not be bad to have some sort of ID
Mhm.
for it when we're doing that.
Yeah, great idea.
you know.
Yeah.
You could take the top.
Do we have like ball caps or something, something real obvious?
Well, the code guys have the blaze jackets.
Right.
You could get, yeah, just say ECB on the back.
Yeah, right, right.
Or a drone would be nice.
Yeah, we could get, fly that over there.
Well, we are gonna talk about your budget, so.
There you
go.
Hey. Yeah, Shauna's trying to get us to spend money
Yeah,
here.
we need to spend some money, that's what we need, merch.
Yeah. All right.
ECB swag.
Right?
I don't know if that would fly very well. Okay, let's wait a few months on that until next year. Okay, so the article, I submitted the article for August. So on waste and recycling. It was riveting, I'm sure it was. Just riveting, best ever, best one I've written yet. And then September, we have blue-green algae and lake quality. Who did we assign that to?
I don't know if we
I
did.
don't think you
Did
did.
we? Okay.
Were we gonna try to get someone to guest,
Oh, that's right,
do
Kevin,
a
right?
guest
Yeah.
Is
article?
that Kevin?
I believe.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, I'll write that down and then I will text him right after this.
I was gonna say, who knows
Kevin
Kevin
will
best?
Okay. Yeah, he's the most knowledgeable there. And then October, we have the recycling article, pumpkins, leaves, Christmas trees, because they will be in the stores by then.
Will be.
Yeah. And so anybody want to jump on October, or we can leave it vacant?
What we talked about, jack-o'-lantern compost.
Yeah.
You could,
Mhm. Yep, all of that.
we can all try to find a little something and we can make a group
Mhm.
contribution to that article. You do that.
All right, so if people find stuff and they want to send it off to me,
Yeah.
that'd be great. We can collate it. Okay, so we still have the trash and recycling up. And then when we roll into probably September, I'll change that and we'll go with composting. I'll fill it with leaves and pumpkins.
Yeah.
Make sure you fill it all.
You gotta relocate the little
Pumpkins and our
chipmunk.
chipmunk.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, I'll have, that next one. Gary Davis gave me some seeds. They're pumpkin, they're like a hybrid pumpkin squash from California, something, I have no clue. But I planted them and they're
Wow.
growing now. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with them. I'll put them on the front porch or something. But they're getting there. All right, so, new business, any updates on the website?
Yeah, so Kim and I have been discussing this. There's a lot of stuff on our webpage, which is accumulated. It's kind of like take it to your attic or your basement. And you might not look at it again, and it's good, a lot of good material, but I think reorganizing a little bit will help. And we came up with some categories, and again, you're gonna pull up an example, Kim.
I'm getting there.
Okay, yeah. Come up with some categories for the different articles to fall under, including some of our older newsletters, which are just archived now. You really got to dig to unearth them. But starting out with our mission, what the ECB is all about, and at the top, just we had a couple of paragraphs on be on the lookout for spotted lanternflies. I thought we could add, an update on the gypsy moth infestation this past year, where things stand with that, and also maybe a little paragraph on ticks. So at the top of the page, just kind of timely, topical things that might be of interest to folks. And then going into these categories, and this is open for discussion, but what we came up with, and Kim went ahead and populated that top one, the trees, shrubs, and wildflowers, with different articles taken from the past postings.
Yeah, I just took them right from the main page and I just moved them over.
Mhm.
So eventually that main page will really
Yeah.
shrink and
Perfect.
and then we can organize this, so you can have a tree section, a wildflower section, so you can order stuff up a little bit better.
Mhm. Yeah.
Very good.
And room for some nice photographs that Kim has contributed to, but I'm sure other photographers in the group would welcome
Always happy
their
for
stuff as
pictures.
well. So the other topics, lakes, streams and ponds, birds and other animals, invasive species, a lot of articles that we've accumulated related to that, the changing climate, and then other resources. So I think, the stuff that's been collected over the years will fit nicely under these categories. It's just going to be a matter of moving things around, again, with Kim's expertise on that. So, anything else, Kim, that we should bring up at this point?
No, I think one of the other things that you could put up at the top if you want, you could put your most recent article from the newsletter.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we could have changing content there.
Yeah, that would be good. And
It looks really good though. I mean, that looks very visually, engaging and not confusing and. Yep.
Yeah, so waste and recycling would go under the other resources, right?
Yeah, or
Okay.
we could make one if
That
we.
would be, yeah, that might stand by itself,
Mhm.
actually, and, yeah.
I love the right side links and all that.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
And I do like, again, having the art, if we do put the newsletter articles up there. Because I know sometimes if I go to a website over a period of time and that beginning part hasn't changed. I immediately think, well, it's not being updated, you know, they don't really have a lot in there, but if we can have that link there or that article there. And it's just something changing every month, so it's a little bit different, I think that might draw, you know, the thousands of people in who are
Yeah.
checking it, you know, think positive, the thousands of people who are going to this every month for their resources.
1,000 hits a day.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
You know, I don't know what the statistics are, because I don't have access to
Mhm.
those for the website, but I would imagine most people that come here just bounce right back off the page. They see all the
Yeah.
listing,
Yeah.
and so they just leave. So I think if we make it shorter and,
Then we'll look in there.
yeah.
Do you cross-reference a link to the ECB on when you do the newsletter article?
Me.
Yeah, have you ever done that?
I have only done,
Cross-reference to here.
Right,
Yes.
meaning, is it, I mean, can you click and
I
then come back to
don't
this
know.
page?
I don't know, I've only
Meaning, to
done
learn
one
more about
article,
ECB, click
Yeah.
here.
that would be good to have in
We
there.
could-
That is actually one of those marketing things. You should always be driving people to your website.
Absolutely, that's what I was thinking.
So that could be just a given, we could
All the time, yeah.
talk to Sarah and have her put when whoever sends the articles in, that she just knows that it's a given to add that tag at the bottom for more
Yeah.
information.
I'll tell her,
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great, that'd be excellent.
just so, yeah, point people.
Mhm. All right. Budget. I was told that we have money to spend, so I'm learning through this, just like you guys. So,
I learned that too.
Yeah.
In doing the budget for next year, that there is money that is in the budget. Sitting there for the ECB,
mhm.
$1,200. That needs to be spent this year.
It's better than nothing.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So I don't, those of you who have been on for a while, what have you spent before?
We bought trees for Arbor Day time.
Yeah,
didn't
we did.
We
We've spent some money and we
plantings.
did the displays for when they opened the new highway facility. We had a few expenses on that.
Did you do the rain barrel workshop?
We did a rain barrel workshop. I think they did put some money in that.
Think you
They
did.
put some money into the recycling bucket
Yeah.
things.
We hosted a couple of
Yeah, we hosted a couple of events.
people who had forests and
Mhm.
people who
Oh, the
owned
master
forested
Yeah,
land.
master
We had
forest and
a few
there's-
folks
yeah.
come in and talk. Like, our expenses were probably the treats.
I don't know. I wasn't.
No, I think
sure
she
of
was
that.
volunteer.
So
This
did
might
you,
have been for free.
did you do like a woodlot development?
We had a master forester come and talk about tree care, about invasive species,
Hmm.
about, you know,
I think
not
those
only
would be-
invasive plants, but the emerald ash borer, et cetera, all the invasive
The
pests.
monies that were spent
Yeah.
were on mailings.
Mhm. We did spend we did send some information out in
Did we do the
The
water bills?
water bills one time.
It would almost seem like, and these, I'm just throwing two ideas. Christmas tree farming and woodlot management, because we've always got people that are buying acreage and trying to eke money out of it by selling off timber. And unfortunately, depends on who you hire, whether you get a good job or a lousy job.
Well,
True.
And
yes, and
I'm sure we've got, you know, somebody who you would prefer to kind of guide residents.
So you're thinking of kind of didactic, some presentations, somebody coming in?
What to look
We've
for,
done that.
you know, what to look for if you're thinking about harvesting.
Yeah.
What are the problems people run into that have harvesting done poorly?
Yeah.
you know, how to plan for a second generation after your first cutting. I think so woods is such a big resource within our community and people are exploiting it.
Come up with a list of, I mean, farm ponds is
Yeah,
another thing.
that's another one, yeah.
That
Yep.
could be a session that would be of
Yeah.
interest to people.
Ponds.
Farm ponds,
Yeah.
yeah, that's,
That would be a really good one, because that's how, you're right. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
people are either draining them or digging them. And more often than not, they seem to be poorly located and then poorly maintained.
And there are some people taking their drinking water from them in rather exciting manners.
Well, much like they used to deposit their sewage in the lake, right?
Oh, well, yes.
Where would you hold such session? Where would be the? I mean,
Yeah, there's some in the courtroom.
We've had them in the courtroom
Okay.
before.
That
Yeah,
was it.
Yeah,
yeah.
so money for advertising and then. snacks.
I probably had some brochures
There
printed,
were,
didn't
yeah,
we?
we had some things printed and some of the presenters required stipend for
Honorarium,
coming to
yeah,
speak. It's,
okay.
you know, the DEC guys needed some mileage, I think, and
And we've got people like Nadia Harvey that would probably make good presenters, just they're right in our community.
yes,
Steve Lewandowski,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, Steve's been involved with the watershed for what, like ever?
yes. And yeah, I mean, there are lots of people who know lots of things, so it's there's no lack of
So is there a
resources.
time frame to get that in?
If we did a pond
This
program, when
year.
would be a good time to do
Yeah.
that? I mean,
Well, there are a couple of good times to do them. One of them is actually in the spring, well, winter, so that they could be prepared.
Filled with
to do,
winter.
with the spring.
Mhm.
You know, there's one of the things that would be, if we were doing a pond one, it would be nice to link an ephemeral pool session with that, because that is such rich habitat for amphibians and birds and et cetera, and they are, you know, I've been trying to talk people into doing one at Miller Park forever, because it would be a great place for one, you know. They're shallow, they don't take much, they're great, you know, they usually disappear if you have a dry summer, which we may not have again ever, but
What's our ordinance regarding, do we have one regarding filling in an old pond? Because see, there's, and it kind of,
yeah, well,
right, I
I tell
mean,
you,
they do sustain wildlife and
yeah,
people just sort of go,
oh, well.
no, nobody's looking, let's start putting fill in there.
Yeah. If we're going to do something about filling things in, how about filling in abandoned wells?
Yep. Really? You mean it's not safe to just dump whatever you want down in the?
Oh, I've seen one in a cow lot one time that was covered with plywood. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, not only for the cows, but it is a direct conduit to the groundwater. Mhm.
How much lead time would we need to put together?
Oh, that's a whole bunch of stuff.
There's a lot of topics.
Could we
Yeah,
like do a
Actually,
motion to,
rain gardens and pollinator gardens. would be
I know,
nice.
They would, yes.
could we make like a motion to plan a,
Is that, I'm thinking, is that something that could be done? I'm thinking a time frame and what we're looking at
Do we have to spend the money by what time?
by the end of the year.
Oh.
This-
what if we did like a
Oh, okay.
November-ish kind of, that gives us, you know, good 3 months of lead to do a pond run.
Can we?
That's a good question.
Yeah, we'll just see if we can have some, if we line up speakers for the beginning of the year, I'd rather than try to jam something in just to get it in.
So we can carry it
Because
over.
If we,
past
if
the
we
first?
plan it now and do it correctly, it's.
I didn't
it's-
think they let us carry our money over
I
though.
don't-
I don't
I think
know.
it's spend it, and then the next year is a whole other.
But if we had it,
We had something where we wanted to put monies into the following year.
but if we
one year
could
we
put in a
couldn't do
deposit, or if there were costs.
Right, if we
can incur costs
Technically spend
now,
it before it's scheduled.
But-
Anymore.
Yeah, spend it, yeah, commit it now for something in January. I just think it's trying something now to get in and towards the end of the year.
Okay.
We're gonna get into November,
Yeah,
you know, and then once the middle of November hits.
Yeah, then it's all
off
Christmas
Because
all
you've
the time.
got Thanksgiving, Christmas, New
Yeah.
Year's.
holiday.
and then
Right.
into the next year.
I think a pond one would be great though.
So
Yeah,
maybe
I was-
January and then March
Yeah.
for woodlot management, ponds in
Something like that,
January
yeah.
and March and, yeah.
It's usually early spring when the gardeners begin to get a little
Yeah.
anxious and they're
We do,
looking to
that's
start their
right.
season. Outdoorsy
Yeah.
people start
We
to,
get started.
Yep, we're all planning projects. Yep.
Those seeds are burning. in our
Yes, I
hands.
know. The seed catalogs I'm reading.
So that's
yeah,
not a
look at
huge,
that.
I don't see that being a huge expense. I mean, if we were to put in a mailing, that would be expensive if we had to pay postage on it. You know, that would be a few $1,000s to mail something to everybody in the town.
You might figure some for copying if we wanted to do
and put it into
a
what you
package that
want,
would
yeah.
hand out with it,
Mhm.
but
is it
Again, it's
possible
pretty
to hold
minimal.
like an open house and have a few different sessions, rotating sessions?
yeah, yeah. we-
You
Yep.
know,
Well, it's
have a
thought, yeah.
kind of open
Same-
house a
same
day,
time
invite the
have,
community in
right,
and
right, yeah,
be a lot more planning.
Canada
but
Outdoor Days.
yeah,
It would be great exposure.
yeah, and it would,
Yeah.
right, maybe shooting for something like that in January.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously the weather's always a
right.
concern, but,
But,
March,
you know, that
April, and-
February, March, things are pretty
Yeah.
slow, other
Yeah.
than storms.
okay,
People can't get outside, but they want to think about getting
Right.
outside.
right. Yeah, but having like a Saturday,
When is,
event where-
yeah, when is spring break for the schools?
Later
I'm so out of
February,
touch
right?
now.
I don't
haven't
have
looked
it.
that
Third
far.
week of
Yeah.
February, I think.
I'm just wondering what it's gonna
This
look
year
like
it
in
was the
September.
end of, exactly, it was the end of March into.
Yeah, it either
Yeah.
tags the last, it either starts with Easter or ends with Easter, so it's one of those
Oh.
2 weeks right there, depending.
The spring break.
Yeah.
Mhm. I was gonna
Um,
say, if we had some session or two that the kids would enjoy
That's a great
Mhm.
idea.
besides,
Ah, interesting. Yeah.
yeah. I would love to do, I have Finger Lakes fossil gig that I have done for schools for years, and I have 35 baggies of fossils that they eventually get to open up and match to their
Oh, that's
fossil
fun.
key and that sort of thing, and they are things that they can find here,
Mhm.
besides a whole bunch of specimens and stuff. And we do the Wonder Bread fossils, since we don't have 400 million years to really fossilize things. I use bread and we can make imprints and this,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It is. It's really great fun. Of
Yeah.
course, we have the great jellyfish on the bottom because there's no backbone.
Nice.
And that sort of thing. So, kids really get a big bang.
So
out
that
of
would
it.
work for an open house,
Yeah,
an
it-
open house
yeah.
type event. I mean, there wouldn't be. I mean,
Canandaigua
there's some
Conservation
supplies,
Days.
Yeah, it wouldn't,
but it wouldn't be
I
a
have
huge-
all that
right, it
stuff.
wouldn't be a huge expense.
Where would we do that? Like at Ononda, at one of the halls or
That would
something?
be
We
perfect.
could,
Yes.
or we,
Oh, yeah.
depends on how
For
many.
that
we
time
have.
of
We
year.
might,
It will chilly.
Set it outside.
Mhm.
Buildings in Onondaga in January.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd be kind of interesting if we had a woodlot management person,
yeah.
and then they could actually take any interested parties out for a walkthrough at Ononda and use it as, okay, so this is the kind of tree we
That's
look to
true.
harvest. This is the kind of tree we want to leave in place.
Yeah.
This is why you take this tree. This is why this tree has no value as lumber, but it's doing a great job of
Great
promotion.
habitat, yeah, right.
Does Ryan do that kind of thing?
I
Isn't
don't
he a tree
know.
guy?
I think he would.
Ryan
yeah.
Stachuk?
Stachuk,
might.
yeah.
He likes stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's.
He's
Yeah.
the timber sports guy, he knows
He's,
a lot.
Yeah.
he knows that, and he's doing environmental conservation. He's teaching at BOCES now.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's
Oh.
teaching,
Yep.
like the farm table conservation, whatever,
wow.
Yeah, that's the old
one of the new
conservation
program,
program.
one of the new programs that they're
Oh.
working on.
That'd
He's
be
kind
good
of
for the
creating
forestry
something.
thing,
Yeah.
If you want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think having it on Onondaga would be great, because we could do multiple.
there
Mhm.
would be different
It's a good size-
buildings and different
good size
things we
building.
could use, yeah.
We have no shortage of facility.
Do any of them have?
Good
any-
parking.
And they
They have,
probably
I've been
would.
to, I know they have heat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we could.
I've been to birthday parties there in the winter.
I think it's pretty safe to say that Sarah Linda would probably support this.
I would
Yeah.
think so. yeah.
We could shoot for a March,
March would be good.
shoot for a
Yeah.
February, March
Mhm.
type
Yeah.
of thing.
I think that would be-
March, people are really anxious to get out.
They
and do
really
this.
Yes.
Get out,
Yeah.
Yes,
get out.
I think that would be a great thing,
And
yeah.
there's usually not anything crazy going on that would pull people away from it.
Be nice to orient something toward teens or, preteens, for example, outdoor photography.
Mhm.
They could do with their phones.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
So how much do you think we would need? I
All
have
of it.
no idea of the the cost or what has been the cost before for pulling in speakers or pulling in people like this.
An honorarium for that, something like that, in my experience, it's been a couple hundred.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so if you're talking 3 speakers, there's half your budget.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Figure printing's gonna be a couple hundred just for things you want to do.
You
To have to hand out.
Yeah, we have to have, food. So
Yeah.
We
We
can
could easily
volunteer
be-
bring
We
food.
could blow the whole
We
thing.
usually do
Yeah,
like
we could
cookies.
easily- yeah,
And even if we accept that it's gonna be potentially a low turnout first year, this is the kind of thing that we could
Yeah,
continue,
sure.
where it's gonna be a great learning opportunity for us
Mhm.
and for our speakers.
Well, you could
So,
also, we pull in other, we could pull Parks and Rec in.
Yeah.
pull Ag in, we could, I mean, honestly.
Sure.
yeah, so let's, maybe if we planned on that and
Out of space.
if we planned on, it'd be most of our, I don't see our budget going up from 13. But if we planned on 1,000 for an event like that, I think that would be fair, a fair amount. And if we go over it, then we don't do anything else. I mean, we didn't do anything this year and we didn't really realize. So that's next year. What about this year for using what we have? I mean, it would have to be more of something that's provided or something that's purchased. While we were talking, I thought if I don't know if we could pair, if it would be too much. So somebody brought up the rain barrels and the other things that we've had, but we haven't been able to do for a while because people haven't been out. What about pairing something like that with Halloween or Ronanda? We'll have people there anyway. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know if we can buy the things and have people and just give them away, or if people need to kick in $5 a piece. I don't know what the rules are for gifting of the resources like that.
So you're thinking like compost barrels or rain
A
barrels?
rain barrel or something, or a small compost bin or something
Okay.
that we have there, even talk about recycling your stuff and have the little bins. I don't know.
Right, right.
We have one.
We still have a lot left, so that wouldn't be a huge cost. I've always wanted to do the rain barrels, but I've always missed out on. And those are about 10 or 15 bucks a piece.
Well,
Seems
so
Good idea.
we got enough money to buy a bunch and it's
Yeah.
first come, first serve.
Do we want to put in and see what it would cost to buy 100 rain barrels?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
use
sure.
that, because we incurred expense for the composting bins, for the little ones, for the big ones, for the garbage bags. And we're able to do that because of the benefit it provides for the whole. We're not just, it doesn't just benefit the person who gets it. I would have to think the same thing for the rain barrels. If we were able to do that, incur the expense now, and maybe if we can get it in sometime, pair it with that event. Or even, or some sort of other, I don't know, any other recycling thing, but we wouldn't spend it, we've already got a lot of that. But the benefit would allow us to be able to give those away to people.
Yep.
Or have a little presentation booth set up there saying, here are the rain barrels, here's what you can do with them.
Mhm.
Here's a coupon, stop by a town hall and grab one.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
here's some candy.
Yeah, here's some candy, yeah.
But you have to list our.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about rain barrels.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah.
Here's-
Yeah, here's that, and then turn this in and you can take one home. I think that might. No,
Sounds good.
No, I think you made the case.
Great.
to pair it with a day,
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
and I mean, that way, I don't wanna spend money just to spend it. And so
Right.
you got it.
No, but that's
But
getting
this is
people
something-
engaged
It is
too.
a good thing.
This
though.
is something that I know
Yep.
the county's done, and I know there was one in Ronanda not too long ago. Not in Ronanda, at Outhouse not too long ago, I think,
Mhm.
But-
Yeah.
just to be able to purchase the kit. And then be able to have a sample there, and then people can come in and get one.
I have a
There's a
suggestion.
lot of
You guys-
interest.
Oh, Sarah Lynn,
Sarah
yeah,
Linda.
Yeah,
Oh.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I think I've been on mute by mistake, but I have another idea that could be repeated towards the end of the year for mopping up money if we have it and want to spend it. And that is planting trees. I imagine the Parks Department has a budget for that sort of thing, but if we get involved in talking about trees, the tree committee had a recommendation about some tree work in the cemeteries, and I'm sure they've looked at the parks and asked for recommendations about native trees that people would like to see. And I don't see any tree planting program going on. And the tree planting programs that have happened, like the ones around town hall, it seems as if the follow through is not great. They're not getting regularly watered and maintained and protected. And maybe we should think about using, if we have leftover money, get some fairly healthy and sizable specimens of certain trees that we want to make sure that people notice because they're suitable for the area and native and so on. And then maybe have a tree planting ceremony, but devote some of the money to paying somebody in advance to actually take care of these trees over the course of the following year, so that we're not getting mixed up with tree activities by the town that may not have succeeded in the past.
The parks person is tasked, that is part of his job description, is to water the trees and take care of plantings. Hiring an additional person to do it would somewhat of an overlap with his job. I'm not sure that would fly.
It's a concern that it's not being done.
We should not be
Yes.
stepping on anybody else's toes, but on the other hand, we should maybe try to get some better results.
And that should bring up and put more teeth into the person, making sure we get everything watered.
Yeah. Well, I went to Outhouse Park, the last tree committee meeting, and Dan Marion walked around and, obviously there's areas there that need replantings, more trees. And he was actually going to put a list together or identify areas. So could the monies be used for that?
I think it could. What if we earmarked this year, because I think 250 a tree could get us a significant tree.
Oh, yeah.
I only buy little ones, or I pull them out of the woods and then I plant them in my lawn. All the trees in my house I pulled out of the woods and
Who
transplanted.
we bought them from in the past, the sizable ones?
Mayflowers, and there is, because they are in the town, and there is now one down on Route 21.
Yeah,
That
they
is
and they
a
have quite a
nursery
bit, yeah.
also. So
Is the-
we
is the
actually have 2 nurseries in the town.
There's the one out by Greenhouse out on Town Line Road. Is that Hopewell?
It's on our side, let's Campbell.
Is it on our side?
Yeah,
Spring,
the
spring.
Spring
spring.
Valley.
I know he is
Valley,
a
Spring
massive
Valley.
proponent of
Okay.
native species.
Okay,
too.
I'm not familiar with that one,
Spring
so that's
Valley,
good
right.
that I'm glad you
Spring
brought it up.
Spring Valley,
Spring
right?
Valley,
Spring Valley,
yes, thank
okay.
you.
Do we want to budget?
They're in our town.
Yeah.
Do we want to
Let's do
budget 500 for trees,
That
800
sounds like
for
a great
barrels?
I
idea.
think that would be great.
And if we can get 2 trees planted for that amount,
Yep.
They charge you to plant, but they charge you for the tree.
Sarah Linda brings up another thought that I had that I guess is for all of you. And we have a couple of massive oaks at the Hun Cemetery. One that's actually on private property, but 2 that are on cemetery property. Absolutely magnificent trees that are really old. I suspect, now I know they're not the only ones. We all know about the one in front of the VA that is roughly dated to the end of the 18th century. These are probably not quite that old. They're probably more, Civil War, maybe a little before. But those trees are something that we should be identifying throughout the town. And I think it's Arbor Day Foundation that, isn't it, that lists trees of, and I think we should actually make an effort to do that, and a public effort to identify our really old
Yeah, I
valuable
think the
trees.
tree committee has, they would endorse that idea. They've actually been talking about
Have they?
how to do that. Part of the, we were thinking about having people nominate the tree.
Oh, that's a great
That's right.
idea.
That we could list and photograph and so on, but we will need to contact the owners because
Yeah.
we would be on private property,
Right.
of course, to do so. Yes, there are some wonderful trees, both on town property and on private property,
But they're
and I
okay.
think, getting people to recognize them. I think we could actually do eventually a tree tour
Yeah.
because people like.
They are a
trees.
historic resource.
they're
They're like a
really- they're
living,
great. Yeah.
teachable historic
They are.
resource.
It'd
When
be
you
nice
can-
to have them photographed with a little gallery.
Yes,
of
Mhm.
trees.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Trees of distinction.
Kids really
Yes.
lock onto that when you can say, well, that tree, was a little tiny sapling when the Civil War began. That's something that a
Yeah.
10-year-old can understand.
Right. The tree committee did do a survey of the parks and of the cemeteries, which I was along with. And we found that some of the problems in Outhouse Park and the other parks is that black plastic had been placed around the trees to
Weed mat.
make it easier to mow.
Yeah.
And it was preventing water from infiltrating. It was encouraging roots to come up over the top. It was a mess. Dan actually ran to his pickup to get a knife when he discovered.
Liberate the poor
Yeah,
trees. Yeah.
he was so distressed. And we did report it. I have found a few more. There was one that they missed at Ononda that going up which we did. And many of them have been removed now,
Yeah.
but it has done a real number on
Mhm.
them. And the trees at Miller were not watered. They had the alligator things on them, but they did not fill them.
Phil.
You have to replenish it.
Hmm.
And that was noted and reported, so.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we can probably hire our own guy to go out and step
Yeah.
on the toes of
So
the
let's,
parks guy.
so if I can bring this to a motion then, so I think if we were to identify, for this year, and I adjusted it down, I think if we do half, if we, oh, sorry, we have 650, we have 1,200 left or 13?
1,200.
1,200.
Okay, so if we could identify if we could put 600 towards trees to identify. We could even choose a park a year, and maybe this could be an ongoing thing, that one of our goals is to, because I know the tree team doesn't really have money. So we could go and say one of our goals is to each year we'll identify a park and we'll put 2 trees in that park, or how much $600 will buy us.
Yeah.
And then for this year, we can try to see what 600 will buy us for rain barrels,
Okay.
I think
and
that's
that'll spend that money.
excellent.
But just have it as a recurring, so then after, to either, to supplement or to replace what we need to replace
Mhm.
and identify appropriate species, and maybe we can get a couple decent trees out here.
That strikes me as a really good stewardship of resident funds.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
I think so.
To have those in there, so can I get a motion to approve budgeting for the 2021 year, $600 towards trees and 600 towards rain barrels?
I will so move.
I get a second?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so that motion, that's noted, so I guess if you want to go back with that, with the money, that proposal, and then
I guess I can come back with some
let's see what it would,
quotes on trees and caliber
yeah,
and species and,
And if anybody wants, if it is needed to, legwork is needed to visit anybody, I would be glad to go out and talk to the Spring Valley guy.
mhm.
Great. Be good. Yeah, it'd be good to shop around.
Yeah,
it'd
I
be
know
nice
all
to
of them.
keep it in
And
the
yeah,
town.
Yeah.
Spring Valley, and I know Charlie's a great, he's a great, good,
Mhm.
over there.
With flowers.
Oh, so were you talking about sunrise?
And then Sunrise is on 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also, there's also down in Naples, I don't know if you've noticed it driving down Meadowview. I don't know if they do general sales or if it's more commercial, but they also do a lot of native species down there as well.
Yeah, they do. That's where the Soil and Water District gets their seedling trees.
Yeah, and they supply this, yeah, to Yale County, I think.
But if you want to keep it
Leave
specifically
it
to.
specifically to
town.
the
Oh,
town,
okay, those are
they
our
wouldn't
two
be, yeah.
places.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
Sunrise.
as much as we can to support the.
And we're looking for something that calipers about 4 inches, right? Ish.
Yeah,
Something.
yeah, something significant.
Minimum.
So the town has a program for dedicating benches. People can buy a bench And then there was discussion of trees as well. And Sarah Reynolds was, I thought, looking into that. So you might check with her as to whether they would go so far as to, explore where to purchase those. But,
Yeah.
how they
Great.
advertise them. Get a bench and a tree for it.
And if you extra, the bench and the tree will be together.
They should couple.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Do you have any more for that, Sean? Or are we good? So we'll keep the same for next year. And if, keep that tree. I think that would be great if we could keep that tree thing going. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, biodiversity activity. All right, Kindred, go.
Working on it.
There we go.
It was in my way.
That was some variety of camel spider, I think.
Yeah. I'm like,
Oh, we had some in Afghanistan that were the most hideous, nasty looking things.
So I've set up a page. Are the people on Zoom seeing this?
Yes,
Just making sure. I set up a page for the town of Canandaigua. We've added some observations to it and Jared helped me get them to research grade. It just means he had to agree with my idea of them. And then I could do the project. So the project is really what we were talking about. So I set up the project page. I'm still fine tuning some of the details. I think I can put some mapping in it and things like that, so. But I carried over our observations from the page, so it's pretty much all ready to go. You just joined this project and you can add your observations for any place in the town of Canandaigua, so.
So it's live now for adding,
It is live for adding. Like I said,
because
I've
I'll add.
gotta
Yeah.
tweak some things.
Yeah.
But I can send out the link for that to the group.
Okay.
So how should we roll this out?
I'm gonna be writing something up and sending it in, try to get the messenger publish it. For this to share it, and then once they have it, then we can throw it on our webpage and get that out there. Started doing it last week and then I started messing around with this and like, I don't know enough about it. And so we had to make sure it was up and going. So then it now,
Does that get used on the town's Facebook page and that kind of stuff?
the messenger,
No, even the web pages,
We
projects like
the
that.
link.
could put that on
Put it on the
the
scrolling bar at
social
the top.
media and stuff.
I mean, I'd love to see like that and the reworking of the committee's page. I mean, I think those are the things that, like, nobody wants to go to the town website, right? I mean, it's like, if you're doing it, it's for something bad.
Nobody else does.
Right, but,
that's
but
what
usually it's
you're
because you
on.
need a permit or you're licensing the dog or paying a fine.
That's it.
Right.
But if we tease this stuff, I think that might actually,
Yeah,
get people's
let's throw a
attention.
link- Let's throw a link to it on Facebook too,
I think
on the Facebook page.
And I was mentioning to Jared, if you want any graphics created, so you could share it on Facebook and,
Is this
or-
an app too?
This is an app, yeah. So you can put it on your phone and it actually has all of the
That's fun.
geo information, so it can really. place it
Oh,
on the
so
map
it'll,
for you.
right, it'll pick up everything as you're taking the image.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, I don't have a
Cool.
smart
all the geo
device
and
that I can do that like at Ononda with, so I take the pictures, I go home, and I upload them through the desktop interface.
Is it like Google Lens? Will it actually tell you what you're taking a picture of?
Yeah, actually, I don't have my login information here, I should have brought that, but, yeah, so when you go and you make your observation and you fill in the information, you'll go, I'll click on the little thing where it like says what the species in it, it will start populating it, so like pale jewelweed, it just brought that up for me and I could click on that. So, if you don't know what it is a great way to try and figure
you
it
got your
out.
own field guide with you.
You got your own field guide. And then when you do the observation, you say, okay, it's pale jewel weed, and somebody disagrees with me, they'll actually put the disagreement, they'll say, no, I disagree, I think that's orange jewel weed or whatever. So, there's kind of checks and balances, it's not just people like shotgunning stuff out there, but it's a great way to learn that too, so.
It's like
if you
having
go-
Edith Davy on your phone.
Old as dirt, that's what they call it. I've been around.
So that's where we are.
That's
That's
excellent.
neat. Real neat.
So I think, and my angle is too, with what I want to put out there is just, end of summer is coming and, people are looking for things to do. And if you're out and about, just see what you can gather and how much you can throw in there and make a little contest to see who can
That's what I was thinking, we should do.
throw them out at most out. We'll give them a rain barrel.
I've gotta go
Whoever
cut
wins gets
firewood.
their own
There you
customized
go.
rain barrel.
I gotta go cut firewood, and I'm telling you what, every weed in the woods is gonna get.
And it will tell you how many people, which people, how many species they did, it tells you, gives you all that information. So,
Well, there's a lot of really interesting fungi showing up right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen stuff in my woods that I have never seen before.
I've seen some
and I've
very
had-
colorful toadstools.
Yeah, I saw white ones. It was not Indian pipe, which is the usual
Yeah.
white one, but it was really interesting.
I've seen some oranges that I've seen in the mountains, but not down here. And you're right, it's getting pretty
Yeah.
soggy out there and it's.
Oh, yeah. Mosquito heaven.
So that's where this
Okay.
is, and like I said, if you need graphics or other things, I was the marketing director at Sonnenberg for 7 years, so I've done a lot of, flyers, graphics, all that stuff, so if you need any help, let me know.
Excellent. Well, thanks for doing that.
Yes,
And
that's great.
it is kind of cool going through there and seeing everything that's around.
Yeah.
And everything that is out there. So I think it'll be a fun thing to have up and running.
Does it like creatures as much as it likes?
Oh, certainly.
Okay.
Creatures, you can even do like bird song, so if you record
Okay.
bird song, you can load that in here and see if it will identify it for you, which is like, what bird is that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
I'm gonna put my chickens on it tonight.
I'll go take a picture of York's pigs.
When Gary asks, 5. Gary Davis, not you, Gary.
Chicken joke.
It's a chicken joke all the time with Gary.
Yeah.
We have 10. We had 12, but 2 of them had to go to chicken heaven.
Were they tasty?
No, one of them got sick and the other one we found dead.
Oh,
Infection. She got all egg bound and just,
that's,
we were
that's
giving her
fatal.
baths.
Yeah.
We tried for 2 weeks to nurse her back to life, back to health, but yeah. So like my daughter says, she learned in BOCES, you can't have livestock without dead stock. So you just have
Oh,
to,
geez.
She's
you have
right.
to accept it.
Right.
Yeah.
So circle of life.
That is.
Justin, how is your chicken population doing?
It's doing well. I actually learned how to sneak chicks under a broody hen and raise another 6 of them, so we're
Cool.
growing out here.
And Europe, I gotta come over and see what you're doing. Europe sounds like you're a pro. I just buy them for a quarter when they're at Tractor Supply on sale and that's what I do.
Clearance.
So I buy clearance chickens. Sorry. Anyway, okay,
And then you wonder why they're egg bound.
I know, maybe that's what you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
Scratch and dent, man.
I know,
it happens.
I know. So remote meeting participation, I think we're okay. We'll keep continuing like this, the hybrid model going forward. And, as with everybody, we're just gonna keep it flexible.
You do have to have 3 people here in the building for quorum, that is the requirement.
Okay,
All right. 3 people present.
okay. Right, and then one last thing that I wanted to bring up is what the board is gonna look like going forward, and wanted to share thoughts that I had and any thoughts or ideas that you had. I've been in conversation. Were you on that? I think you might have been on that email too. Doug sent out an email, because we've talked back and forth about what we want to make it look like. Because combining it, and you know, the scope of it is growing, and there are more things that we can do, and there are more things that we could take in under the committee. The way the committee is constituted, it can have between 7 and up to 9 members at a time. I think right now we are sitting at 7. I would like to see, I think it would be beneficial to get that number up to 9. And I do think, and I haven't talked to Leaf about this yet, but I think one of the members of the committee should always be the historian, for the fact of looking at properties and looking at homes and conserving that part of things. I think that's an important piece.
Oh, gee, thanks.
You're welcome. Oh, did I not tell you about that yet?
Keep it there.
Did I not? Sorry, I meant to tell you. I meant to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Congrats, condolences.
Thanks.
And then there are other scopes that I think people have strengths and more interest in. So I'd like to see, and a thought I had would be having kind of 2 branches, 2 parts of the committee. Having people focused on the education part of things, the activities that we've been talking about, and another group focused on the project reviews and the development side of things. Because some weeks that we have more, that some months that can take quite a bit of time. I mean, it's easy to spend a few hours on one of these things.
Mhm.
So that's between travel and research and looking at plans and everything. So that is what I'm thinking right now, to have, ECB have
Subcommittees.
the subcommittee of the project review. We can't call it the project review committee, but we could call it the project part, and then on the other hand, we can have the educational outreach part. So I just wanted, and in the future, coming down the road, we'll probably have the waste and recycling part. Because I know, like with Susan coming over from the environmental committee, coming over with me, I mean, that was a lot of what we talked about there with waste and recycling.
Absolutely.
That's gonna pick up a lot more once we have changes here.
Yes.
So that would almost be a third, and that might facilitate having more people actually on the committee. So the committee could grow, but it would have have a number of subcommittees underneath. And not every subcommittee might meet every month. And there might be months that certain subcommittees parts of the ECB don't have to meet, as long as we have that quorum full. So what are your thoughts? That's just my random thought process going forward. So I'm open to any ideas, any slamming, any agreeing, any suggestions, or if you just want to sit and think about it and throw me any thoughts going forward.
It seems wise to distribute the effort, across a couple of areas. You're not overtasking people. You're not asking the same people to do all of it. You are kind of compartmentalizing division of labor.
And I know some people probably aren't comfortable going and reviewing. One of the goals that I think is to try to get, as many people who are comfortable going to projects and reviewing them. I don't know, everybody's not comfortable doing that. So I wouldn't want to ask everybody to do that. So this allows people to find their niche or things that they want to focus on.
Sarah, Lynn, and Justin have done the majority of the site reviews. How many folks do you guys think would be an optimal number if there were 4 people doing that? Or obviously it depends on how many referrals are coming through, but what are your thoughts?
Well, we sometimes have as many as 4 to 6 projects to review. So I think it would be ideal if nobody had to do more than 2 per month. So if there were, say there were 3 to 4 people who at least felt comfortable enough that they could do, one of the more straightforward ones, that would be great.
Okay. And then, so 3 to 4 with projects, and then with outreach.
Mhm.
That to be the other, what do you guys think for having an out for the education? Because that's one of the charges that we have is community education.
Yes.
Or would outreach and recycling be the same, or do you see the waste and recycling is different?
I would think if, at least to start, they could be the same. I mean, if
Yeah,
you
there's-
see that the workload expands, then yeah, you could break off.
There's a huge component of education and outreach with waste management.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it fits
Okay.
in a lot of ways.
And
It
it
fits
goes
with other things we're talking about, like soil and air quality,
when
or
we
water
get-
quality.
Closer.
I agree. I think we could do it with the education and outreach and the waste and recycling to start out
Together?
with the same. Yes, absolutely, because a lot of times in the recycling and the reuse and all of that, we were really talking about a lot of education pieces.
Yeah.
So I think we could start out that way. If we have to split apart, so be it. But I think that would be a good place
Yeah.
to start.
Or when time comes, we could choose a couple representatives to be a voice when we really start moving dirt over there and planning the project that's gonna come eventually.
Yep.
When the transfer station gets recalibrated and modified down the road. Okay. What do you think would be so do you think 9 is a good number to keep for the committee? Do you
I
think, because I fear any
I'm
more.
always first guy to talk, but I feel like 9, you get more than 9, at least at this point, you're getting unwieldy.
Okay,
Mhm.
so,
You gotta remain, there has to be some degree of nimbleness.
right,
And my thinking would be this, if we need more people, we need to think about how we can bring in volunteers
Mhm.
to help with special projects or who have special knowledge that could be like a one-time
okay.
kind of thing. I mean, that's just my thought.
Okay, so thanks for the input with that. And it'll be a work in progress, like anything it takes. It will, I just wanted to get the ball rolling on it and get it moving because it will take an action by the board. And the action might come back to say to not make it a board anymore by the town board. It might say, one option might be not make it a board, make it a conservation board anymore, but what was it called before? Conservation. There's a different word than board. Commission, was it commission? So something
You've always
different.
been a
I
board.
thought we always had to.
Or it might be that and might give, changing that might give more flexibility, but it's not always easy to create and then eliminate boards in that regard. So I'll keep you posted on where we are with that process. All right, so any reports, anything from the CIC?
I wasn't able to attend, so I do not know what they spoke about. You were there,
I
Sean.
was there,
huh?
they spoke, well, so ridge lines and view sheds is a continuing discussion.
Yes.
It's very, very hard to define, it's so subjective.
Mhm.
Obviously, I haven't been here long enough to experience that this has been coming up for the past 4 years, and it kind of dead ends at that spot where how it's defined.
Yeah.
Right, so, the draft, they're taking the 2008, whatever draft, I think 18, yeah. And they're gonna go through it line by line on Monday. Gary really wants to get it moving.
Sounds fascinating.
And the fear is like Sean was saying, the fear is that you get to a point and then it kind of trails off into the weeds and then you really get the people, you really get focused on really spelling out all the minute details. And then as soon as that happens, there are always some who drag their feet or like, no, are comfortable with that. And then it kind of dies. So I think hopefully it stays more broad and just focuses on, just the most important parts of that. So if it's really going line by line, I'll definitely be there.
We are going line by line.
I will be there with. the
So
popcorn,
come with your
ready
marked
to
up
go.
copy.
All right. Put that on my list. We'll schedule
And
it.
we are gonna talk about the ag overlay, protection overlay, at the September meeting.
Okay. All right, history team, Sarah Linda, Leaf, anything to share?
Well, the history team has been on hold over the summer, but we do have some good news, which is the Preservation League awarded the town a grant for the second phase of our historic resources survey. So that's something that we had hoped to do last year, but everything got stalled last year and we applied again or we applied for the first time actually and got it. So that activity will be starting up in the fall, September, October, and it will result in a definite list of what properties in the town are properly termed historic, or what are the most significant ones within the various categories that kind of emerged from the first phase of this project, which was a couple of years ago, and that was the historic context statement. So anyway, the town has been struggling with what is a historic building and what isn't a historic building for a long time, and this document should give us some much more clear-cut answers on that, including actual property lists, which is something we've never had before.
Excellent.
Cool.
All right, thank you for that. Tree board, I think we
everything.
included, that was weaved in through the conversation. And then conservation easement team. Is that still going?
13.
There's discussion on the conservation subdivision that,
Well, that's slated to be approved in August. by the
yeah,
town
there's
board.
another public hearing continuing on that.
Yeah,
So let's take that off. Because I don't think, let's take the conservation easement team off. All right, so does anybody have anything else they would like to share? Any other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you everyone for meeting. Oh, just in time. There you go.
Yeah.
Right on cue. All right, so I can't leave yet. You're a permanent member, so I can't.
But I know, but okay.
Yeah, okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. All right.
I've been sitting here going, my wife's waiting for me in
Oh,
the parking lot
okay.
for like 45 minutes. I'm going.
5:45. All right.
She played
Before 6
taxi for
o'clock.
me today.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Yep.
See everybody.
See you
next
all,
week.
see you all on TV.
All right.
Check your wife, I said hello.
I will, yeah. and I-
That's a small world, man.
Yeah, at some point I'd like to talk to you too about, what you do as a town historian and 'cause I have
I
a
am-
history